Hello and welcome to STARCAST from Planet Waves. My name's Eric Francis Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM on Pacific Radio and the author of the Planet Waves horoscope. Today's edition is for Thursday, the 13th of July, 2023. Thank you for joining me. This is the STARCAST that accompanies the Planet Waves horoscope for today and the Planet Waves article today. The article looks at some of the, let's say, philosophical background on Venus stationing retrograde. I'm continuing my theme of the impact of digital conditions on human consciousness and our experience of being people in bodies in the midst of society that's going through this radical transformation that hardly anyone is talking about except to rave about the new version of the iPhone or the Android or some such thing as that. This edition will mostly focus on the Cancer new moon. Cancer new moon takes place on Monday, the 17th of July, at about 2:31 in the afternoon. So we've got the new moon on Moon Day. And this is quite a loaded chart. I'll get to the details in a moment, but this is, let's say, part of the setup for an aspect pattern that we're approaching on July 22nd. Sorry, again, I've got to check a calendar. July 22nd is Saturday, the 22nd, and that is the day that the Sun enters Leo and that Venus stations retrograde in Leo. And it is a big setup because the Sun and Pluto form an opposition exactly at a right angle to the lunar nodes. Students of historical astrology know this is called at the bending. In a conversation last year with Rob Hand, we pretty much agreed that something square to the lunar nodes is one of the most powerful aspects in all of astrology. And so here we have the Sun, the ruler of Leo, making an opposition to Pluto and a square to the nodes at the moment that Venus stations retrograde and 18 minutes before the Sun enters Leo. What's going on? This is exciting, it is interesting, it is worth stopping and paying attention to. For those of you listening on remote podcasting platforms, you can find the written coverage of this by going to planetwaves.eu. That will take you to the official Planet Waves Substack page. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this chart. The new moon is at 24 degrees and 56 minutes of Cancer. That's like its address. This is not about doing math. It's no more about doing math than knowing that 14 Mulberry Street is probably going to be next door to 16 Mulberry Street. So the address of this new moon is 24 Cancer 56. And this just so happens to be at an exact or extremely close 90-degree angle or square to Eris, the planet of discord, disruption, and the reshaping of the human experience through digital consciousness. That's what Eris is about. Can be about other things, but it is. I've been kind of picking and sweeping philosophically through this for years, and the transformation of the human experience and human consciousness precipitated by this long 130-year visit of Eris to Aries is the breaking story about what Eris really is. And few astrologers have picked this up. You might need to be really interested in the history of media to notice, and that is how I noticed. Anyway, it is Moon Sun square Eris. This brings Eris into the picture. Eris can have a disruptive quality, but it's not disruptive quite the way that Uranus is disruptive. Uranus is blatantly, openly revolutionary. Eris is more operates more through subversive, subconscious, below the level of language, kind of subterfuge. But still, to my eye, this is a very exciting new moon because it's a moment of transcendence, a little bit of the cow jumped over the moon form of a new moon. And while this is happening, the sun is lining up for an opposition to the lunar nodes. In the new moon chart, the lunar nodes are at the very, very, very beginning of Scorpio, since they retrograde. Overall direction is retrograde. That means at the very end of their journey through Scorpio Taurus. And so when the sun actually makes the square, the nodes are already back in Aries, Libra, and the sun is still going to be in Cancer, and Pluto is in Capricorn. So the chart that we have for the new moon is like the warm-up round for this chart, but it gets full credit for its existence by having this very exciting square to Eris, and I'll be curious to see what we're fed by the media machine Sunday into Tuesday. Meanwhile, just pay attention and do what you can do to take care of people. If you are born under the sign Cancer, pay attention to authority figures, and don't for everyone, don't needlessly throw rocks or start fights. Now, you may not be the throw rock, start fights kind of person, except that digital is making us into that kind of people who tend to thrive on consternation. I, as a digital presenter, I find this incredibly annoying that I get the most attention for my posts when I'm going after someone in my role as the reputation assassin of liars, for example. If I reference other people, that's also very exciting. But mostly what people on the internet thrive on is chaos, pain, and consternation. It is like there is some entity harvesting all the Garmonbosia that is created on the internet. That is the Twin Peaks word for pain and sorrow, which is accumulated in a substance that looks like creamed corn, everyone's favorite food. And so this is not the time to be making or harvesting Garmonbosia. We need to chill the fuck out and treat people with much greater courtesy on the internet and in all digital environments. And remember that we're still people, even though we're being translated through and interacting with one another through a robot. You are not a robot. Okay, also in this chart is another exciting aspect pattern. I'm going to have to open my laptop. You may be aware of my situation of having to run computers simultaneously on two different operating systems. Okay, we'll see if I get there. I may have to be approximate about this one, but it'll be fairly close. We are working into a Mars-Saturn opposition. The way that works is that Mars is in Virgo, recently arrived, and Saturn is in Pisces, recently, well, a little bit less recently, but still recently arrived. And so therefore it's in early Pisces, currently retrograde. Mars is coming along in direct motion. It's going to make an opposition, looks like, according to Mr. Laptop with Old Operating System, on the afternoon of the 20th, night of the 20th in Europe, 21st in Australia, New Zealand. And this is a tense object. It's the two, quote, quote, malefic planets in a direct opposition and confrontation. If any horoscope column that you read, perhaps besides my own, is likely to get this wrong, because they're going to take it as contentious rather than as an opportunity to work something out. At least when there is an opposition, there is a face-to-face meeting. There is an acknowledgement of one another's existence that is inevitable, and there can be the breaking of a deadlock. These are very important. A lot of life just kind of seems to be stuck in deadlocks. And so when you have a strong opposition aspect, and that includes a full moon, there can be the release of a deadlock. Now, if you're the one who happens to be in the assertive side of this, if you're the one who is in the position of the hunter, pursuer, aggressor, the one expressing motivation, you're going to hit a wall unless you use a very thoughtful and careful strategy to not hit the wall. So this new moon is not just a blanket green light go. Rather, the new moon is cautionary to proceed somewhat meticulously, talking Mars and Virgo, and to proceed with a strategy right nearby, Pallas Athene in Virgo, and to have a narrow focus, Isis trans Pluto in Virgo, all of them within 1.5 degrees. And so this is describing the meticulous, careful, cautious motion of Mars, remembering that there is going to be an opposition. Well, what's the opposition about? What is the point of contention? What is the place where you may reach the barrier and need to somehow present yourself in a way that gets you through? And this barrier is possibly concealed. It's a Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, when you discover it, happens to be talking to Pholus in Capricorn. Now, what's that? Pholus is another one of the centaurs. Pholus, though, is a centaur that proceeds very slowly until there's some shift and like a cork is pulled out of the bottle, and then suddenly it goes into Mentos and the Pepsi bottle mode, or the snake coming out of the snake can, or the genie coming out of the bottle mode. And so be mindful of the fact that behind what may seem like a subtle block or a point of interference, there is a lot of pressure on the other side of that barrier. I would say, just being a little bit advicey here, proceed in a cautious, conscious, and strategic way. Use your language precisely. You'll see in the horoscope there's a lot of references to the precise use of language and thought, and keeping your tools sharp so that you may apply minimum force. In the next edition, I will get into which will probably be a good bit sooner, probably maybe Tuesday night, so we're well ahead of Venus stationing retrograde, and we'll be expanding our coverage of Venus retrograde. This will be included for all Substack and Planet Waves customers, and there may be some advanced readings for Backstage Pass holders as well. The Leo reading is in process. There will be a Planet Waves and Substack post giving some of the basics that I'm covering in the reading and the chart. And let's see, I've also got an edition of Planet Waves FM planned for Friday night. In that edition, I'll be doing a much more thorough reading of the Venus retrograde chart. And a couple of others. I'm on to the UFO beat these days. I've got to give a second look at the Ariel school incident. And then much of the program tomorrow is going to continue the development of artificial intelligence and look at that as a potential alien invader. And we may have science fiction author and teacher Bill Forshant on the program on Friday night as well. You may recall he was the one who was talking about electromagnetic pulse a few months ago on the program, and basically disaster preparation in the sense of being electronically prepared and having your important documents on paper or on optical drives. Okay, so thank you for being a subscriber to Planet Waves. If you happen to be listening to this and you're not a subscriber and you value and appreciate my astrology, please feed the tree. There is this living entity that makes these fruits for you, and this living entity has friends who help him out, and he likes to pay his friends at least something meekly resembling fair wages so that they can keep coming to work, and that is what you are supporting. And I don't know of any place where you get more effective use of a $10 or $14 monthly subscription. Really, It is good for everyone and good for the world and even good for you. So thank you for joining me. I am going to very eagerly export this file and load it up to the various places where it belongs, and we'll put it out on various different podcasting platforms. Follow those links back to planetwaves.net or planetwaves.fm. If you like astrology, there's others. .org works, .eu works. All these different Planet Waves domains will take you someplace interesting. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And I will catch you on a different day. Signing off from Kingston, New York at 4:04 p.m. on the 13th. This is Eric Francis. Bye for now.